The sound of crashing metal echoed across the silent moon as Ryan's escape pod slammed into the frozen ground. His vision blurred. Sparks flew from the control panel, and a warning alarm beeped over and over. He coughed hard and looked around. Everything was broken. The pod was half buried in a snowy crater. The outside world was white, cold, and empty. Ryan grabbed his suit, forced the door open, and stepped out into the biting wind. The sky above was dark blue, and the sun was weak, barely shining through the clouds of ice dust. He was alone. The crew was gone. His ship had been destroyed during a meteor storm, and the escape pod was the only thing that saved him. He didn't panic. Ryan had been trained for survival. He checked his oxygen, activated his scanner, and started walking. The scanner picked up some strange energy not far from where he landed, just beneath the surface. It didn't look natural. As he moved, the ground crunched under his boots. The snow here wasn't just soft powder. It was a thick sheet of ancient ice. And deep below, something glowed faintly. He kept walking until he saw it. A large crack in the ice like a jagged scar. Peering down, he saw strange patterns etched into the walls below. Symbols, curves, not made by nature. He dropped to his knees and started to dig. Hours passed. His fingers were numb inside his gloves. His breath fogged the inside of his helmet. But finally he broke through. The ice collapsed into a tunnel. He slid down carefully and found himself inside a smooth hallway made of metal and stone. It looked old. Very old. The lights flickered. Water dripped from the walls. "Hello?" Ryan called, though he knew no one would answer. As he moved deeper, he found something strange. A round chamber at the heart of the structure. In the middle was a sphere of water floating perfectly in the air. Inside it, a girl slept, her body curled like she was dreaming. Her skin was pale blue, her hair floated like silk, and she wore robes covered in glowing runes. Her ears were pointed and her eyes, though closed, looked peaceful. She wasn't dead. The sphere pulsed with energy. Ryan stepped closer, confused and amazed. A voice suddenly echoed in his mind, soft and sad. "Are you human?" He jumped, looking around. No one was there. Then the voice came again. "You're real. You can hear me." He realized the girl was speaking, through her mind. She was still asleep but somehow connected to him. Ryan took off his glove and touched the sphere. It rippled like water but didn't break. Her eyes slowly opened. They were deep violet, and they stared straight into his soul. "I didn't think anyone would ever come," she said aloud now, her voice weak. "I've been waiting a long time." Ryan was speechless. "What are you?" he finally asked. "My name is Naira. I'm the last of my kind. Trapped here since the fall." She explained everything through thoughts and images. Her people had ruled this moon centuries ago, peaceful and advanced. But one day outsiders came. They attacked, jealous of their technology. To protect their secrets, the High Council sealed the temple and trapped Naira inside, along with the knowledge of their race. She was meant to awaken when the world was safe again, but no one ever returned. Until now. Ryan looked at the control panel beside the sphere. It was badly damaged. If he had the right tools, maybe he could free her, but not now. His gear was limited, and his oxygen wouldn't last much longer. "I'll come back," he said. "I promise. I'll find help. I'll bring everything I need to get you out." Naira touched the inside of the sphere, her palm resting against his. "Don't forget me," she whispered. He used his tool to carve a symbol on the wall near the chamber entrance, a mark to remember where she was. Then he climbed back up to the surface, heart heavy but full of hope. That night, as the stars blinked overhead, a rescue beacon finally found him. A ship landed near his broken pod. Medics pulled him in and treated his injuries. The pilot asked if he saw anything important. Ryan almost told them everything. But something stopped him. "No," he said softly. "Nothing but ice." He closed his eyes, replaying Naira's face in his mind. He promised he would return. But as the ship took off, the storm below began to shift. The symbol he carved started to fade beneath fresh snow and ice. And far below, Nera waited, silent and alone inside her watery prison. Years passed since Ryan left the frozen moon. He had returned to Earth a hero. The crash, the survival, and the long wait for rescue had turned into a story the media loved. But what they didn't know was what Ryan had truly seen, and who he had promised to save. Naira. Her face stayed in his dreams. Her violet eyes, the soft voice in his head, the sadness in her final words. Every time Ryan closed his eyes, he saw her inside that sphere of floating water, waiting, alone. And every morning when he woke up in his apartment on Earth, a heavy feeling remained in his chest, like a broken promise he couldn't forget. Every day. First, he tried to find the frozen moon again. He searched star maps, space reports, and old rescue logs. But the moon was missing from official records. The rescue team had never written down the exact location. Maybe they thought it was just another dead rock in space. Or maybe, Ryan thought, someone had erased it on purpose. He tried to draw the star patterns he remembered, the shape of the clouds in space, the look of the nearby planets. But space was big, too big. And the more he searched, the more hopeless it felt. Still, he couldn't let go, even when people stopped asking about his survival story, even when his old shipmates moved on, even when the world around him returned to normal. Ryan felt like he had left something important behind, something no one else believed was real. Was Naira just a dream? He remembered her voice, her story, the way she looked at him. No, she was real. He was sure of it. One evening, he sat in his quiet apartment staring at a blank screen. He had sold his medals for credits and bought access to private star data. Most of it was useless, but then one tiny file marked with a red warning. Uncharted ice moon, meteor hazard, abandoned. Ryan's heart jumped. He zoomed in on the location. The coordinates were close to where his pod had gone off course. The moon had no name, just a code. But Ryan knew. This was it. He stood up, determined. He was going back. The next few months were hard. Ryan didn't have a ship. He didn't have support. But he had saved some credits and had a few old contacts from his space days. He bought a small personal shuttle, old, scratched, and barely holding together. But it flew. He named. It promised Ryan packed supplies, tools, and a memory core filled with every piece of data he had about Nera's prison. He studied ancient alien technology, learned how water-based containment fields worked, and trained his body to handle low temperatures and rough terrain. He didn't tell anyone what he was doing. They wouldn't understand. They would laugh. Or worse, think he had gone mad. The day he left Earth, the skies were dark and cold. A light rain fell, almost like snow. Ryan stood outside his ship for a moment, staring at the sky. "I'm coming, Nera," he whispered. "I didn't forget you." Then he boarded the Promise and launched into the stars. The journey took weeks. Space was quiet, lonely, and full of shadows. Ryan spent most of the time checking his maps and making small course corrections. Sometimes he would stare at the stars and wonder if Nera was still alive. Could she really wait this long? Could the prison still hold her? He had no answer. Finally, the ice moon appeared on his radar. Ryan slowed the ship and looked out the window. The moon had changed. Massive ice quakes had split the surface. White storms covered the land. Deep cracks glowed faintly, and parts of the ground looked like they had collapsed into hidden lakes below. Ryan carefully landed near the area he believed matched his old crash site. The wind howled outside. The scanner beeped weakly, but the energy signature was still there, just deeper than before. Ryan wrapped himself in thermal gear, grabbed his tools, and stepped out onto the frozen ground. The place was both familiar and strange. The same endless snow, the same biting cold. But the ice had shifted. Mountains had moved. Paths had changed. He searched for hours. His boots crunched through snow and ice. He dug into frozen cracks, scanned the ground, and looked for any sign, any clue. Then he saw it. A broken wall of ice with a faint mark carved into it. His mark. It was barely visible now, almost erased by time and storms. But it was there. Ryan dropped to his knees and began to dig, faster and harder. He followed the same tunnel downward, though parts had collapsed. The temple was deeper now, buried under more ice and water. Inside, the hallway was dark and quiet. The lights were off. The walls were cracked. But the chamber was still there, and she was still inside. Nyera. Her body was floating just like before, but weaker. The sphere of water was now dark and slow. The runes on her robe had faded. Her eyes were closed. Ryan stepped forward, heart pounding. Nyera. I'm here. Nothing. He placed his hand on the sphere. It rippled slowly. A weak light flickered inside. Then, her eyes opened. It took a second for her to recognize him. But when she did, her lips moved. You came back. Her voice was barely a whisper. I'm sorry, Ryan said, lowering his head. It took me too long. I forgot the way I failed you. No, she whispered. You returned. That is all that matters. Ryan looked at the control panel. It was badly damaged. He pulled out his tools and got to work. There was still time. He would not leave again, not until she was free. And far above, on the cold surface of the moon, the storms began to calm. Something had changed. The promise was remembered. Ryan worked as fast as he could. His hands trembled from the cold, but he didn't stop. Nara was watching him from inside the sphere, her eyes dim but hopeful. He had returned, but he knew that wasn't enough. Now he had to free her before the ancient system failed completely. The control panel next to the sphere was covered in ice and rust. Ryan cleaned it slowly, careful not to break the fragile buttons. Some lights blinked weakly, others were dead. The energy source was too old, too weak. He had brought a backup power cell from his shuttle, but it wasn't a perfect match. He had to be creative. He connected wires, adjusted circuits, and rerouted power lines. Sparks flew once. He almost dropped his tools. But the system didn't reject his changes. It accepted them slowly, like waking up from a long sleep. Are you okay in there? He asked Nara without looking up. I am tired, she replied, her voice echoing softly in his head. But I'm still here. You remembered me. I did, Ryan said, even when I tried not to. She gave him a small, sad smile. You were afraid I was just a dream. He didn't answer. It was true. For years he had doubted himself. But now she was right in front of him, real, alive, and still waiting. He worked. The temple groaned. Cracks in the walls spread. Water began to leak in small streams. Ryan knew the structure wouldn't hold for long. The moon had changed too much. He had to finish soon. Finally, the main panel lit up. The screen showed an old alien language, but Ryan had learned enough symbols to understand the basics. It said, Emergency containment release manual override only. Nara, he said, turning to her, I can't unlock this from here. There's a manual switch deep in the system core. It's down below in the control chamber. I know, she said, but be careful. The core is unstable. If you break the wrong seal, the whole temple might collapse. I'll be fast, he promised. Just hold on. He took a flashlight and climbed down a narrow staircase behind the sphere. The path was dark and filled with broken steps. He held on to the icy wall as he moved deeper underground. At the bottom, he found the main control chamber. It was colder than the rest. Frost covered the machines like snow. In the center, a large switch stood inside a protective shell. Old cables wrapped around it like vines. Ryan removed the shell slowly. The switch glowed faintly blue. As he reached for it, he noticed something strange. His flashlight flickered. Then a gust of warm air passed through the chamber. He turned quickly. Someone, or something, was there. A tall shadow stood at the far side of the chamber. Its shape was not human, not fully. It was part metal, part flesh, with glowing green. Eyes and armor fused into its body. It stared at Ryan without blinking. What? Ryan stepped back. The figure raised one hand. Its voice was mechanical and cold. You should not be here, human. Ryan's heart pounded. Who are you? Guardian of the seal, it said. She must not be released. Ryan clenched his fists. Why? Because her kind were dangerous. The seal was made for a reason. And now, you threaten it. Ryan shook his head. She's not dangerous. She helped me once. She saved my life. She deserves to live. She is one of the deep ones, the Guardian said. If she wakes fully, she may not remember who she was. She may not control her power. The last time her kind rose, they drowned stars. Ryan hesitated. He thought of Nera, how kind she had been, how softly she had spoken. Could she really be a threat? But he saw no evil in her eyes, only pain and loneliness. He looked at the switch, then back at the Guardian. I made a promise, he said, and I'm keeping it. The Guardian moved forward. Ryan pulled a flare from his belt and threw it at the cables on the ground. It exploded in a burst of fire and sparks. The Guardian screamed, a horrible, broken sound, and staggered back. Ryan grabbed the switch and pulled. The chamber shook. Lights flashed red. The water above began to roar. He raced up the stairs, back to the sphere chamber. The walls were cracking. Water sprayed from the ceiling. And in the middle, the sphere had begun to break apart. Nera floated down gently, her feet touching the ground. The water fell away like mist, revealing her full form. Taller than he remembered. Graceful, glowing slightly from the strange marks on her skin. Ryan, she whispered. You did it. He smiled, breathless. You're free. But then, the temple rumbled again. The floor split beneath them. We need to go, he shouted. Nera nodded. She held out her hand. As he grabbed it, a wave of water formed around them, lifting them gently off the ground. Together they shot through the collapsing tunnels, wrapped in a sphere of rushing liquid. Nera was guiding it with her mind. The water followed her will. The temple crumbled behind them, stone and steel falling into the deep. Finally, they burst through the ice and into the open air. The storm above had calmed. The wind was still. The moon was quiet. They stood on the surface, cold snow beneath their feet. Ryan looked at her. You controlled the water? I am part of it, she said softly. It was my prison. Now it is my strength. He stared at her in wonder. She looked almost human, but not quite. Her eyes glowed faintly in the moonlight. Her hair floated in the air like it was still underwater. You've changed, he said. Nera looked down at her. Hands. I feel stronger, but different. I don't know what I'll become now. Then let's find out together, he said. She looked at him and smiled for the first time. A real bright smile. One that had waited for years. Above them, the stars twinkled, and far below in the ruins of the temple, the Guardian's broken body stirred. A green light blinked once, then faded. The cold wind cut sharply across the moon's cracked surface as Ryan and Nera stood silently. The ruins of the temple lay behind them, swallowed slowly by drifting snow. For a moment, the only sound was their breathing, heavy from the escape, and the weight of what had just happened. Nera looked down at her hands, her skin glowing faintly beneath the thin robe she wore. The water, she whispered. It was my prison and my power. Now I can control it. But it takes much from me. Ryan studied her carefully. What do you mean? She took a deep breath as if gathering strength. When I was trapped, the sphere kept me alive but weak. Now my connection is free, but it drains my energy quickly. I can't stay outside the water for long. If I do, I grow tired. Sometimes I feel the power trying to take over. Ryan frowned. Is it dangerous? Not to you, she said quickly, but to myself. I must learn to control it, or I risk losing who I am. He nodded, understanding the weight of her words. Then we need to find a way for you to rest, a place where you can recover your strength. Naira smiled faintly. There is a lake beneath the ice, deep and warm. It could heal me. Ryan looked up at the moon's cracked surface. Then that's where we go. The journey to the hidden lake was difficult. The moon's surface was unstable after the temple's collapse. Ice shifted unpredictably and storms sometimes swept across the land, but Naira guided Ryan, sensing the water beneath and leading the way. As they traveled, Ryan asked questions about her past, about her people, and about the power she carried. My people, Naira said, were called the Deep Ones. We lived beneath the oceans of this moon, in cities built from coral and crystal. We could shape water and use it to heal or protect, but our power made others afraid. They came to destroy us. Ryan listened quietly. During the attack, I was captured and placed in the prison to keep our secrets safe. But it was also a curse. I lost many years inside that sphere, trapped and forgotten. Ryan reached out and gently took her hand. You were never forgotten by me. She smiled, squeezing his hand. You are the first human I have trusted. After days of travel, they reached a large crack in the ice. Below, a soft blue light shimmered. Ryan helped Naira carefully lower herself into the water through the opening. The lake was warm and clear. Naira sank slowly, her body relaxing immediately. The strange markings on her skin glowed brighter, and her breathing eased. Ryan watched, quietly from above, feeling a mixture of awe and relief. This was her home, her true world. Suddenly the water rippled, and Naira's eyes opened underwater. She smiled at him through the ice. Here I can breathe and rest, she said softly. Ryan nodded. I'll wait for you, as long as it takes. While Naira rested, Ryan explored the nearby ruins. He searched for anything useful. Old technology, maps or tools that might help them escape the moon safely. In a small chamber, he found a device unlike any he had seen before. It was smooth and shaped like a sphere, glowing faintly with blue light. When he touched it, images flashed inside his mind. Visions of ships moving through space, stars burning bright, and a distant planet covered in blue and green. It was a message. A warning. Ryan realized the device was a kind of beacon, or memory storage, left behind by Naira's people. It contained knowledge of their power, and the dangers that came with it. He carefully packed the device and returned to the lake. Naira had been resting for 2 days when she finally surfaced. Her eyes were bright and her energy seemed stronger. Feel better, she said. But I can't stay here forever. The moon storms grow worse. We need to leave soon. Ryan agreed. I want to take you home, but I don't know where that is. Naira's face grew serious. My people's home is lost, destroyed long ago, but I know of a place, an ancient city on a distant world. It is said to hold the last hope for my kind. Ryan looked at her, hope rising. Then we'll find it, together. Before they could leave, a sudden tremor shook the moon. The ice cracked beneath their feet. Ryan grabbed Naira's arm and pulled her to safety. From the depths of the temple ruins, a shadow rose. It was the Guardian, rebuilt by some ancient force. Its green eyes glowed brighter and its voice echoed with anger. You released her, it said. Now you will face the consequences. Ryan stepped forward, standing between Naira and the Guardian. We freed her because it was right, he said firmly, not because we wanted trouble. The Guardian raised its arm, preparing to attack, but Naira stepped in front of Ryan. Water swirled around her like a shield. You will not harm him, she said, her voice calm but strong. The Guardian hesitated. Ryan realized that Naira's power had grown. She was no longer trapped or weak. With a gesture, she sent a wave of water toward the Guardian. The force knocked it back, but the machine was not destroyed. We must leave, Naira said urgently. This place is dangerous. Ryan helped her back to the surface. Together they climbed into his shuttle. As the ship lifted off, Ryan looked back at the moon, now cracked and alive with strange energy. He knew their journey was far from over. The shuttle's engines hummed steadily as Ryan guided the small ship away from the shattered moon. Outside the window, The icy surface slowly disappeared into the endless black of space. Beside him, Nyara sat quietly, her violet eyes reflecting the distant stars. Ryan glanced at her, feeling a strange mix of hope and fear. They had escaped the prison, faced dangers no one else understood, and now carried a future that was still unknown. "Where are we going?" he asked softly. Nara looked out the window. "To the ancient city my people once called home. It is far, but it holds answers. Perhaps even a new beginning." Ryan nodded. "We'll find it." Days passed in silence as they traveled through cold, empty space. Ryan watched Nyara closely. She seemed stronger now, but sometimes she would close her eyes and breathe slowly, as if gathering power from within. One night, Ryan couldn't hold back his questions any longer. "Nyara, you said your people were powerful, that you could control, water, and heal. But the Guardian called your kind dangerous. What really happened?" Nara sighed and turned to him. "Our people were born from the oceans of this moon. We learned to live with water, to shape it, and to protect life. But with power comes fear. The other races saw us as a threat. They attacked without mercy." She paused, her voice growing soft. "I was not like the others. I wished only for peace. But war changed everything. The Guardian you faced was created to keep us locked away, to stop us from rising again." Ryan thought about the Guardian's warning. "Do you fear you might lose control of your power?" Nara nodded. "Sometimes. The power is strong and wild. I must learn to use it wisely, or it could hurt those I care about." Ryan reached out, taking her hand gently. "You won't be alone, I'll help you." She smiled, a bright, hopeful smile that warmed his heart. After weeks of travel, the shuttle approached a large planet far from Earth. It was covered in blue oceans and green lands, a world alive with color. Nyara's eyes lit up. "This is the place. The ancient city lies beneath these seas." Ryan looked at the planet's surface. Waves sparkled in the sunlight. "How will we find it?" Nara placed her hand on the ship's controls. "I can sense the water's memory. It will guide us." With her help, Ryan piloted the shuttle toward a deep ocean trench. The water above shimmered, hiding a world lost to time. They landed on a floating platform built by Nara's people. It was old but still strong, made from coral-like material and glowing crystals. Nara stepped onto the platform and breathed deeply. Home. Ryan followed, amazed by the beauty surrounding them. The sea air was fresh, filled with the scent of salt and life. Together they dove beneath the waves, entering tunnels filled with glowing light. Ancient statues of water creatures watched silently as they moved through halls covered in shimmering algae. At the heart of the city, they found a chamber filled with strange machines and a large pool of crystal-clear water. Nyara stepped forward and touched the water. It rippled, then began to glow. "This pool holds the memory of my people," she said. "It will help me control my power." Ryan watched as Nyara knelt beside the pool, her hands moving gently over the surface. Slowly, her glowing marks grew, brighter. She breathed deeply and her eyes closed in concentration. After a long moment, she opened them again, stronger, calm, and full of light. "I feel whole," she said softly. Suddenly, alarms blared through the city. The water around them shook violently. Ryan grabbed Nara's arm. "What's happening?" She looked toward the entrance, fear in her eyes. "The Guardian. It has followed us." From the depths of the sea, the Guardian rose once more, its green, eyes burning with anger. But this time it was not alone. Strange shapes moved behind it, creatures of metal and water, loyal to the ancient order. Ryan readied himself. "We can't fight them all." Nyara nodded. "We don't have to. Watch." She raised her hands. Water surged around her, rising like a shield. Then, with a fierce cry, she sent a wave of energy crashing toward the Guardian and its followers. The water creatures scattered, But the Guardian stood firm. It charged toward them, metal claws ready. Ryan fired the ship's weapons, aiming for its core. Sparks flew and the Guardian staggered. Nera moved swiftly, controlling the water to bind the Guardian's arms. The machine struggled, but could not break free. With one final push, Nera sent a powerful burst of energy that shattered the Guardian into pieces. The sea grew still. After the battle, Ryan and Nera stood on the shore, breathing heavily. "You were incredible," Ryan said. Nera smiled. "I learned from you. You believed in me even when others did not." Ryan looked at her with deep respect. "You're not just a prisoner or a power to fear. You're a friend. A new beginning." Nyera reached for his hand. "And you are my hope." Together they looked out over the endless ocean. The past was behind them. The future was unknown, but for the first time, they faced it together.